Let's continue our previous tutorial where I showed you how to implement a chat using Firebase and nothing else. Hi guys, I'm Rushan, and here I will show you how you can optimize the chat so you can scroll through, let's say, thousands of messages without getting any slowdown, while in a normal scroll view you would get after you get over a few hundreds of messages, you'll notice some slowdown, especially on mobile. And maybe most of you don't need this, so for those of you that have this requirement, I have created this second part of the tutorial. And let's get started. Just get this out of the way. All right, so as you see, we have our previous chat implementation where we can send things, hello, and somebody else can reply and so on. So, well, let's first go here and make this scale correctly with our height of the screen, so you can see that nicely scales. So this is something that I forgot to show you in my previous tutorial, and I know there was something else, but we'll see. Well, let's start by importing OSA, which you can click here, open in Unity. I'll do it here from my local folder. All right. Okay, there you have it. So let's then go here and change this. All right, so we have a scroll bar, and yeah, we want to generate a new one. And let's see, we will make a list adapter because it's a list, and let's give it a name also. What name should we give it? It's messages controller OSA. I have it written down here. I wrote down the steps that we have to go through on my other screen so I can follow up. Okay, that's the script we want to have. Let's press generate and wait a bit. Oh, I think I know what I did. Yeah, I think I have to import utilities as well. No. Well, what happens here? Oh yeah. So after all these years, I'm also doing this mistake. So I'm pretty sure it's a common oversight for many people. So of course we have to reference the plugin. I'm having emotions, man. Yeah, there you have it. Yeah, so the second step after you import your OSA, you have to reference its core ASM dev. All right, so it was already created for us. It's where are you? Okay, it created there. Okay, we'll move it after. So we won't generate any item prefab because we will have our own. We have 2 prefabs of our own. Okay, initialize. Let's put it the proper namespace. So it's, let me put this out of the way a bit. Forbidden byte, but that's the proper namespace. And I think we can remove most of this. Let's see. Yeah, this one will literally replace the message controller, the messages controller. So we will just go into, oh, did it duplicate it? Ah. Well, we can just remove it then. All right. So we can go in both of these and I mean, yeah, there are 2 ways of doing it. You can go either from here. So we went into the scroll rect and we pressed optimize it OSA. And there's another way. I mean, you can just make this inherit. You can, well, let's go. You can make, we can make the messages controller inherit from OSA, like here, like this. See? And then just there are some overrides that we have to do. But yeah, it's easier with the wizard usually. And you can also do it like this, UI, create a new one here, or table view. Anyway. Okay. Then let's just go and copy everything over. So do it like this. So we have I think we won't need the content anymore. Yeah, we don't need the content anymore because it's the layouting of the items is controlled by OSA, so we don't need that. And let's see, we will create our parameters. And I'm doing it the lazy way. So messages controller params. Well, that's a lot of work. I thought I changed this. Yeah, anyway. Maybe I just imagined that I changed it. Yeah. So let's just delete everything from here. Okay, clean now. And from here. So we'll inherit from base params. Okay. Well, actually, let's do this. Because we have these 2 prefabs from the previous the part 1, and here's my prefab, and here's the prefab for other users for the message, and we will move it here. And there's this thing that we have to do. So if we have a prefab or multiple prefabs, we have to basically validate them. It's not very important to do, but it's a good practice. All right, so there we have it, the parameters of our OSA implementation. And these are built-in parameters where we have only one prefab, just a convenience. But since we have two prefabs, we have to create our own params. And we have a nickname, which we carried over. And what else? Let's actually remove these. Yeah, let's remove these. All right, we are setting the nick. Here we will also initialize the data object. And this is only a utility. What it does is when you want to add an item, you add it to this data, and it internally calls this adapter dot reset items or notify, or what it was, insert items or remove items, depends on what you call. And insert items means you can insert some items in some places and it will push down the items below it. And not only that, but it won't do a complete reset of the list. All right. And we are doing, so OSA initializes itself in start. But we can force that, so we can have a consistent state, initialized state. So after we call init, we can call insert messages directly. We don't have to wait for it. And the way you do that is, so we first check if it's not initialized already. Is initialized. This is calling OSA's own init method. All right. So when we have the insert messages, we will do a data dot insert items attend, and we can do messages, and we do freeze and edge true, which means it will freeze the ending edge, in this case the bottom edge of the content, so that when you add a new item, it will push up the existing ones, just like in a chat message, right? When a new message comes, the existing messages are pushed upwards. Makes sense, right? Let's see what else. What don't you? Oh, okay. It doesn't like this dummy model that OSA generated for us, because we have our own model, and it's this one, the message model. And let's do this, right? Good. So we have our insert messages, and we need this pick prefab for, and whatever we need it in our, there will be here. Well, let's remove these as well. We need it in, actually we don't need this either. Let's remove this as well, just make it cleaner. We will need it here, I think. Yes, this is where we need it. So well, sorry, a bit chaotic here, but I'll explain you what this does immediately. So we initialize our OSA with a nick, and then we insert messages. And from that point, you let OSA do the job, which means, let's clear these things first. Let's clear this as well. This is just demo stuff. So here we have our pick prefab for, and it's from the previous tutorial, so you surely remember it. Oh, okay, now I know why there was an error. Good. So we have this pick prefab for, and so you know, in the previous tutorial when we inserted the messages, and as you saw, there was a for loop, and we were instantiating all of the messages at once. So immediately you see a problem, right? If you have a lot of messages, so you might not have a lot of them, or you might choose to pull them, or just retrieve the first or the last 100 messages, and then when the user scrolls upwards, you can show a spinning circle when you fetch more messages and so on, and you can get away with without using OSA in that scenario. But here, the way it works, we notify OSA that we have this many messages, and you can have, like, you know, tens of thousands. It supports 2 billion items, but of course you cannot store all of them at once in a list. All right. And the way it works is OSA calls this create views folder. It calls it for as many times as possible, just so it can display some items. So if only 3 items can be visible at once, it will display, it will only call this 3 times. Okay, so we have our create views folder, and the way we know how our views folder, what prefab we will use, we basically retrieve our model, and you can use data just as any other list in terms of indexing, the indexing operator. And then we do, it's actually this, var prefab equals pick prefab for, and I think you give it model here, yeah. And then you have the prefab, and you know what to instantiate. And another thing is this views folder, which we have to create. And I think this one we can leave it in the same file, and let's call it something prettier. Just simpler. And let's add it. So this will be, it's like a proxy for our message view. So let's first declare the message view. So this is not a mono behavior. This is a plain C# class, just so you can see. And OSA uses these fellas to represent our any item in your list, right? So you have 10 messages, then you have 10, well, you don't have 10 views holders, but each of those messages will be at some point represented by a views holder. And the nice thing is that we can preserve all of our logic here, and we don't have to do any code rewriting. All of the references here will work fine because we are not touching this. So we're just declaring the component. So like previously, this message view was our views holder, right? But now this is the views holder, just conceptually on a high level. And we'll need, because the messages are resizable, we're using a pattern in OSA, which is very common with a content size filter. And also we will need to know which prefab was used for this views holder, because we are using multiple prefabs, and we have to let OSA know which views holders are recyclable and for which. For example, we have the left and the right prefabs, right? And you cannot recycle a message from the left to display a message from the right, right? So, I mean, you can, but we haven't designed it this way, just to make it easier. And we will use this a bit later. So we simply declare the used prefab. And in the collect views, we will get our view. And the root is simply our transform that this views holder represents. It's basically the root of the item, right? The parent of the root is the content object that scales, that resizes to fit the items. Okay. And we expect a message view on all items, item prefabs. And also right, so the content size filter as well on the message root. And let's see, we will create here a update views method. Yes, that one. You can see how this turns out into a wrapper. So we have update views, which we used previously, and now we're doing it through this. And this is just so when we reference this views holder, you will see later in this update views holder. So we won't write views holder dot view dot update views. That's an anti pattern in programming. It's called inappropriate intimacy or something like that, because you're putting many dots, and yeah, it's a funny name. And with the content size filter, you have to override two methods. So what this does is it enables the content size filter, and this only happens when the item changed, like when there's a size change, when it's suspected that a size change happens. And the way this works is it only enables it for one frame and then disables it immediately. This is just so OSA can let the Unity UI do its own thing, do its own calculations, auto layout, or whatever, and then it disables it because it only needs to know the size. And then you don't need the content size filter anymore. And yes, you guessed correctly. And there will be one more thing. Because we will start downloading sometimes images as part of our message, not messages, as part of our updating of the message object. Sometimes you scroll too fast and you don't need the download result anymore. So we want a way to clear the views folder so that it won't consume resources. And the way we do that, we will hook into this call. It's called on before recycle or disable. And we have to create a clear method just to have it here. Let's make it public. Just for the sake of it, let's let it like this so we can remember to come back to it. Okay, so I think we're done with our views folder. All right, beautiful. So let's see. We were here at create views folder. Okay, so we create the views folder and we then have to initialize it. Let's call it. Yeah, I like VH better. So we give it the prefab, the item index. I mean the content first. It needs to know where to instantiate the prefab. And remember we've had that used prefab property. So we assign that as well. I think it's, wait. Yeah, well, let's do it like this, like we can, let's return the rect transform directly. And since we are at it, let's do parameters that me. Wait, the parameters. Oh, yeah. Correct. We have to make these public. Forgive me, my lord. Okay. Yeah, that should be it. Other. So prefab, big prefab 4. So I guess you understand this, it's pretty easy, right? So if the username is my username for this message, then we'll instantiate message prefab me, otherwise other. All right. And there's another thing that we have to do here. Yeah. Let's go into the view and we will have a init method in the view as well. And because we want to optimize this to not download all of the images at once, if in case there are a lot of images, we will use a pool So this one has an init method as well now. Not on server initialized. Yes, and then we have to add a reference to OSA utilities, which we can only do from Unity. Yeah, because the pool is not something central to Unity. It uses its own internal pool for its own stuff. And this one is more of a user-facing pool implementation that's generic and you can use it for anything. Well, this is just the interface for it. Yes, we'll have a images pool. And that's it. All right. So I said that there's the inappropriate intimacy concept, the anti-pattern encoding, but we will use it here because I made a mistake. Okay? Okay? I made a mistake. Images pool. Yeah, we have to create the images pool, of course. Let's do that. And we can do it here, so let's... Yeah. And we will use what's called an allRU caching pool. It's called least recently used. And it refers to whoever got kicked out first. So the least recently used item will be kicked out. So if you have a capacity of 10, let's put 50. And I mean, you just choose the item that was the least accessed one. So the one that was accessed very far into the past, you know. Okay. So what this does is it creates we have to define how do we destroy them. How do we destroy the items in this list? And since we will store textures in this list, in this pool, we will have to destroy them manually, just to keep, you know, prevent memory leaks. So the object destroyer gives us a pair, like if you go here, it has a key and a value, and our key is the URL. So the URL will mostly uniquely identify an image. And we just destroy it. Destroy. I like to do it this way just to make it explicit that we destroy a texture. I don't know how destroy works. Actually, I think, no, yeah, destroy would not work with just this one because it's a type of object, right? And we have to cast it to a Unity engine object. Okay, now back to our create views folder. And we will initialize the view with the pool. Good. And now I think we can get rid of this and of this. and of this. Well, this is VH from here, and of this. And there's one more thing that we have to do. So vh.view, and we have to create an event in this view so that the view would notify us when the image is downloaded. You'd ideally do this like in a separate class to separate concerns so that the view would not need to download the image, but yeah, I'm sorry, I was lazy, so maybe I will show you something similar in the next tutorial. Yeah, so we need an event here. Let's call it like, and the action will not give us any parameter, and image, and when this triggers, so this triggers when the image was downloaded, and it doesn't trigger when the image was loaded from cache, because loading from cache is instant, so there's nothing to wait for, it's instant. And when that happens, let's save. When that happens, we want to rebuild this view. And this is a new addition to OSA where it tries to guess which way to push the existing content, upwards or downwards, to improve the user experience. And it's something that gave many people headaches, because, and it's not an easy thing to decide, because sometimes you want to push the content up. For example, when you're at the very end of the scroll, like you're seeing the last message, for example, you want to push the content up, but when you're in the middle of the messages list and somebody adds a new message, you might want to just keep the existing content, right? And just keep, maybe you're reading something from a day ago or something, and you don't want the content to simply, jump, and you're showing a notification or something that the message came in, and we are passing this views folder, and that's our create views folder. And this takes quite some time now, because we have two patterns that we use. We combine multiple prefabs with variable sized items, because if you just have constant size items and just one prefab, this goes very, very quickly. All right, so in the update views folder, we do the same thing. We get the model of this index, which is actually taken like this, item index. And again, this is called as many times as needed, usually 3 or 4 times, depending on how many items you need to view at the same time, how many items are visible. And in case of multiple prefabs, that double prefabs in this case, that number is usually doubled, because yeah, at some point you have like 3 prefabs from the left, 3 messages from the left prefab, and sometimes you have like 3 messages from the right prefab all in a row, right? And then you need the same number of items instantiated, and that's what this does. And this usually is not called in the middle of the scrolling. After, like, if you scroll a few times, this is called like let's say 6 times in our case, and then it's not called ever again, because you don't need to create stuff multiple times. But this update views holder is created every time an item has to be visualized, right? And when it goes out of the view and then back, update views holder is called with it here. And you know the item index that it should represent. And you get the model and you do update view using our previously declared method here, which calls this and does its magic here. Right, and since we are using variable sized items and we use the content size filter, pattern, there's this thing that we have to do. And what this does is schedules another pass for computing visibility. This compute visibility is something internal to OSA. It means that it arranges and it resizes the items to its best knowledge. And yeah, it just does it 2 times. All right, and this is the same as this thing here. So when in doubt, this pushes the content upwards when a new item arrives. Okay, I think this is all for this script. No, actually what we forgot to do, no, we have to make sure our images pool is destroyed when this controller OSA is destroyed, right? So let's do it here. And we have, so if it's not null, we clear it and reset it to null. And there's another thing, because we are also using the multiple prefabs pattern, OSA needs to know which prefab can recycle which model, which message. And the way it does is you have to tell it, basically. And here's where this used prefab comes into play. So we know the index of the item that will become visible. Sounds like what we need here, right? We need the model. Let's copy this here. We get the model for the item that will be about to be displayed. And we then do we get the prefab that we have to use for that model, and we simply check, okay, this message this views holder, was it instantiated by the same prefab? Used prefab equals prefab. So if this views holder was instantiated using the same prefab of the item that has to become visible, then it means this views holder is compatible with it and can be used for it. And I don't know if I've emphasized this enough. Views holders are constantly recycled. So when an item goes out of the view, the views holder that represents it is taken out of the list and it's stored somewhere. It's like its root game object is disabled and it waits to be recyclable. It waits to be recycled. And by default, let's say it's like alt and home. Yeah. By default, it returns true. So every item, every views folder is recyclable for any other views folder. But for multiple prefabs, in our case, we have to know, okay, what was the previous item that you've represented, right? Something like that. And it's a bit indirect, like instead we check for the used prefab, which is kind of the same thing, right? And now we're truly done with this messages controller OSA. And now the thing is that what happens here is we start loading an image, right? But we need to respond to this clear message. Because when an item goes out of the view, we want to cancel it, or at least ignore anything that was downloaded and just maybe deleted. So let's do that. I think we'll need some new things here, like, or we won't need. Yeah, we will need this cancellation token source. And this is the C# concept for those of you that are not familiar with it. It relates to C# tasks, you know, the sync, await stuff. And so let's go line by line again. We have a regex here that replaces links with text mesh pro, rich text tags with the link so they can be clickable. Okay, and then using the same regex, finds the first URL and sees if it's an image. So if it's an image, it starts loading it. And what we can do here, we can remove this and just put it here internally, like, why not? Just link like this. Yeah. Yeah. So the way it works, so we are starting this image loading and immediately if this is not set, we will set it. In case you don't know, this means if this is null, assign it this thing. Okay. And then we do this. Okay, and then we create this a linked token. Lots of mistakes. So we have two events that can interrupt our loading. We have this clear, and we have the onDestroy being called. And we need a linked token source for that, so that we won't need to iterate over a list and check each token if it was cancelled or not. And we instead create a linked token source, which with which you can link a lot of tokens, and I create a master token, and you will only check for that one. And let's do that. So we get the token of the image loading source, cancellation source, and this onDestroy. And it's crucial to use this using statement, because the token source is a disposable resource, so we have to clear our memory. And of course, after we execute everything here, like, we don't need it anymore. So that's why we are disposing it. So And now we check for this token if it's done or not. So we have our images pool. So if the texture was returned, then we activate the image. Let's write that method first. So there's something that we will have to do in the activate image. That just means enabling it and setting the texture to it. Enable image with this texture. And that's it for it. Next, if there's no texture, then we grab it and we don't grab it into something. We only grab it. This is for grabbing it and returning it directly. And we're using this grab text utility that I've described in the previous video. And you see we're passing this cancellation token nicely here. So if somebody cancels the loading, it will also cancel the downloading of things. And after that, we do our duty. We check we check ourselves. It's usually a good pattern to, after each await, check if your token was signaled to be cancelled. And here we check if it was cancelled, we return and don't do anything else. Or if the returned texture is null, which means a texture wasn't found, we return. And at this point, there's a valid texture and we have to store it in the cache, so we won't need to retrieve it next time. Okay, I agree. And also there we will activate the image, which means it's this code here mostly, right? So we can call this code either when we've got an image from the pool or when we've downloaded an image. And also, yes, let's also do this, because we promised our callers that will notify them when an image will be downloaded. Okay. So when we activate the image, we set image dot texture is text. And that's what will happen when the texture is downloaded or when it's retrieved from the cache. We set the texture to the image and we activate the image itself. This could have been this way, so it's the same thing because they are on the same game object. But anyway, and let's see if everything here is right. I think it's the same. There's no need to change anything, I think. Yeah. We're updating the aspect ratio. I described this in the previous video. So that's that. And we also have to do housekeeping. So when somebody requests us to cancel the downloading, we have to cancel it, right? So if the cancellation token source is not null, which means an image is downloading, most probably, we cancel it. And we dispose it. I don't know if I have to do this or not, but it's a good pattern to follow. It will never hurt. And yeah, we set it to null. And we deactivated the image. Okay. And just setting the texture to null, so we won't be referencing a potentially destroyed texture or one that could be destroyed at some point. And what this also does is it prepares it to be recycled. So for example, this message view could be used for an item that doesn't have an image, right? So, and that item doesn't need to check here, okay, do I have an image, enable the image or disable? No, we are just disabling it when the item goes out of view, right? So it's a nice symmetric enabling and disabling that we do. So when we have an image, when we have an image, we load it, enable the image component, and then when we are done with it, we are disabling it. That's pretty nice for me. And that's the thing with the message view. Well, let's remove unnecessary usings. I like that. Well, I think we're pretty done, but usually not, because we have to do some things in here as well. Well, first let's remove this because we don't need the scroll rect anymore, nor we need this. Okay, our parameters are not showing, and I know why. Because we have to make them serializable. There we have it. And then we'll drag our prefabs on it. I know what happened. We had to make our prefabs serializable beforehand. Like, we had to... Yeah, I know what happened. But anyway, we can easily fix this. So we have to assign the content, which is, I mean, if you're familiar with the scroll rect, you know what to do. You have the viewport, you have the content, your orientation is vertical, you have a vertical scroll bar. This one, we can destroy this one. Some padding, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe not. Gravity, we need it at the end. So the end means bottom or right if it's a horizontal scroll view. Content spacing, I don't know, what content spacing did we have? We had the 10 content spacing and also paddings. 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, drag enabled. And let's drag this prefabs. And I think under effects, I don't think we need anything from here. The default works very good. Navigation, yes, we don't need anything here. Okay, that's that. And let's see the content. I think we don't have to put but it's already here. Yeah, the pivot. It's usually good practice to put it at the bottom, but you don't have to. Vertical layout, we have to remove it because now OSA does all the job. So the content is just an empty fella. And this one, I don't know why it's disabled. I think I disabled just to test some things. And I said it in the last video as well. Rect Mask 2D is a bit more performant last time I checked. So if you don't need fancy masking, you have to use this one. It's just for performance reasons. It's not. It doesn't affect functionality. All right. And the items themselves have to have a content size filter on them. And it should be disabled by default, and it should fit vertically. And this is the component that the views folder enables and disables here in mark for rebuild and unmark for rebuild. Okay, I think that's it for the message. And another thing, let's see if we have to do this. I think we have, if we didn't already. Yeah, we have our pivot at the bottom. Well, let's enable this just to see. Yeah, that's how it works. Well, we don't have to save it. Doesn't matter actually. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to have the pivot at the bottom, so that most of the messages, when they will come, they will be pushed upwards. Even though we have some code that does that, I think in some scenarios it also helps to put the pivot at the bottom. Yeah. Well, the moment of truth. Usually it doesn't work, you know. If you're a programmer for a long time, you know, nothing works from the first try. So this is me. Of course it doesn't work. Let's see. Maybe... No. Let's see. What is it that you don't like? Message controller is null. Okay. Oh, right. Yes, that makes sense. Yes, because we need it. We've changed the controller, right? It's this one now. And yeah, the interface is the same. It's an init method with a unique parameter. And we have to assign it. And we also have our URL here. It's the one that's used previously from the Firebase. Second try. Oh. Looks good. So here's our image. You see these weren't downloaded. And I don't know what's waiting. They're waiting too much. Why? Maybe it doesn't work. What happened to you, man? Something happened with this URL. Interesting. If we set it again, let's see. Oh, all right. It means that there's some kind of error that this URL doesn't like. It doesn't let you extract the image. Or maybe we're using an old version of the grab text. Oh, sure. Yes. We are using the 11 patch version. Then you have to. Yes, you have to go here and you have to go. Yeah, and by the way, this is a good point. And I'll update the description for the previous tutorial as well, so that there will be an updated version of this grab text. Is it 13? Looks like it. Yeah, looks like it. Let me check. Yes, it's 13. And now it should work. Famous last words. Yes. Yes, you can feel the joy. And you can see I scrolled fast through them, but some didn't download. I think they didn't download. Just to save. Yeah, this one, you see, just to save bandwidth. And it only downloaded. It only started downloading when you actually stopped on it. And this one. I know this one, it doesn't work because it doesn't have an image, so it's just a blog, and it doesn't have an image. It's a blog post, or I don't know what. It doesn't matter. I don't know. And that's it, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of focusing mostly on images, so I'm not messaging enough. Let's put some more images, some more messages here. But it'll take a while, right, to fill this. Yeah, actually I didn't show you a difference between... I didn't show you the difference between this optimized version and the non-optimized version. I should have shown you that at the beginning. Well, let's just add some more messages. This was boring, so I'll speed this up. So I got some additional work here. So I tried my best to fill in some messages there. I don't know how many there are, maybe not enough. But let's try it in our previous project. And let's see if yeah, the URL is not the same. Let's get the URL here. Yes. Let's see, do we see any slowdowns, stats? Yeah, we have a lot of FPS. Like I have not the latest GPU, but I have a 2060 if I remember correctly. And yeah, you can see it goes from 200 FPS to 150. Well, let's see this one. It also it's a bit bigger. Let's make this one bigger as well. Yeah, let's make it bigger, just to be a fair comparison. Well, it's not much bigger, but well, something like this. Come on, man, give me the handle. Okay. And you should be... What? Oh, okay, correct. Yes. I don't know, should be at least similar to it. This is me. Well, let's see, this is the canvas overlay, scale it. Oh, this was has a different reference resolution. Let's just, yeah, make it, you know, as similar as possible. Yes, okay, now I see. Well, this one actually. Well. Yeah, it's funny. Well, okay, you know what, I won't spend any more time on this. Let's see. Me. Well, maybe it's too big. Oh, no. Looks pretty good. Yes. So this one is, it gives us, well, let's pause or not pause, no, let's, so now it gives us, like, because we have the other one running as well, it gives us around 130, 140, yeah, something like that. Let's see this one. Well, you're showing us less FPS, that shouldn't be possible. That's interesting, because here you have this many messages. So let's, I don't know, maybe just stop this. Oh, interesting. I have no idea why there's less FPS. Well, that's really interesting. That's pretty interesting, actually. I think there's something that I'm missing here. Profiler. Yeah, it's the editor loop. From what I see, which And if I'm doing this, yeah, editor loop is like 90% of it. Oh, okay. Well, that would have been embarrassing, right? And I also have the profile running, profiler. So let's close the profiler. Right. All right, now you can see the happiness on my face, right? So this is this thing in Unity when you want to profile something, you shouldn't select something in the hierarchy because you see there's a major slowdown in FPS. So we have to click away. And yeah, now it should work. You see, it's just like, you know, like, let's see, like double. Is it fair if I say double the FPS, like 200 and something? Well, maybe like 400, but between double and triple FPS. So yeah, that's a fair enough comparison in my opinion. Let's try here as well. Me too. And this one has something. Let's collapse this. And let's deactivate that one as well. So nothing selected. So we have like 180 FPS. And yeah, just 130 FPS. And you can see, like, yes, I'm on PC and I have a 2060 GTX GPU, which is better than a mobile GPU, at least a mobile phone GPU, from what I know last time I checked. But it's still too powerful to see a major slowdown. Let's see how many messages do we have here. Oh, I don't know, how should I count this? Can I count them? Export JSON? Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yes. I can do this. And I can see, I can count this. Or actually there's something like JSON viewer, I think. Well, alright. Yeah, the slowdown on my PC starts around 500 items. So on mobile phones, I mean, if you have a mid-range phone, I think it starts around 200 or maybe even 100. And the advantage of this one is that you can just scroll through them. You see, well, this is the non-optimized one. You can scroll through them and they seemed like they were always there. See? Well, now this one slows down in the FPS as well because, you know, it's, yeah, I don't know why, but you see, like, the idle FPS is like 500, and for this one is, where's it? You see, 180. I feel like I want to show you a real slowdown, and I don't know how can I do that without I don't know how can I do that. Maybe I can write a script to send a lot of messages. Well, I could. Should I? Well, since we're at it, I might as well. Let's do it. Chat. Let's send 10 messages. Many more. Okay, so for each message we'll actually send like 20 messages. Well, more than 20, 30. Well, let's try. Hope Google won't flag my IP for spamming or something like that, I don't know. Me 3. Text. Oh, that was fast. Let's get some variation as well. I don't know how many there are. Well, me 4. Oops. Oops. Well, it's fine. Yeah, 25 FPS. So yeah, you can see the slowdown here. FPS. Scrolling got pretty good. Last time I checked, you couldn't scroll, so they've made it better in 2022. Yep. Like it's the same as if you are staying in place. Okay. Yeah, so 25 FPS versus the same as before, only when you scroll this one is you get less FPS, but still, see, it's kind of above. It's above 100. It dips a bit when it starts to download the image, which is acceptable. I mean, yeah, it's for Unity is acceptable for game development. Yeah, so there you have it. There you have it. I don't know what else I had to show you. There was something else, I don't remember. But that's it. That's it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I wanted to see how many messages. Do we have here? Hmm, 1000. Okay, so that was for 1000 messages. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was much longer than I wanted it to be. I thought this would be like a 20 minutes tutorial, but I don't know, it was 1 hour and 30 minutes, so I hope Mike will edit it down to maybe 40 minutes. I don't know, even that seems a lot. Yeah, so if you like this and want more content like this, just subscribe and also comment, let me know. There will be more content on this channel in general about Unity and development, and yeah, I mean development in general, like not only about Unity. And I guess that's it. I mean, at this moment, it's your chance to influence this channel. So you could I mean, you can suggest stuff, whatever you're interested in, and I might I will consider that. So just check my intro video, the channel's intro, and I talked there. I talked about in general what I'd like to post here and what I want this channel to be about. And I guess that's it. See you soon. Lucian out.